Oh, hi. Madrid, the capital and the largest city of Spain and also the administrative center of the same name, the province and autonomous community. The municipality is in structure of the area. Comarca of Area Metropolitana. The largest economic, political and cultural center of the country. The population of the city minus 3.266 million inhabitants. 2019. The city is located in the central part of the Iberian Peninsula. Big Madrid represents agglomeration of 1200 square km. The city is located in the territory of 607 square km and includes 21 administrative districts. Large transport hub. Iron, high-speed highways, one of the world's largest airports. Madrid, the influential cultural center in which the set of the museums of the international scale, among which there is Museo del Prado, Art Center of the Queen Sofia, Thyssen Bornemis's Museum and the Forum Madrid, which are in 100 most visited museums in the world, is located. There are many versions of origin of the name of the city. It is known that it is mentioned in 939 under the name Madrid, presumably from Arab Madar. City. According to other version, the name Dorabski, from the Old Spanish Maderita, forest young growth. There are also other versions. According to the ancient legend, Madrid was founded by the antique hero Acne, Tiburon's son, god of the Tiber River, and the prophetess Manto. Fortress Mancha Karpatanskaya was founded on the river bank of Manzanares. There is a version that the name Madrid comes from Celtic Madrid, the big bridge. After the Arab conquest of Spain distorted in Mazaret. Geography. Madrid is located in the center of Spain at the height of 667 m above sea level. Through the city the small Manzanares River, which was earlier belonging to the historic area of Castel, flows. In the northwest part of the city the massif of Sierra de Guadarrama with his highest point of Peñalar, 2430 m. Towers. Thanks to height in 667 meters above sea level and to continental climate, summer in Madrid roast with a low rainfall, and winters are much colder than in the cities on the Mediterranean coast. Snowfalls happen nearly in every year, sometimes winters are especially snow. Average January temperature is 5-6 C, July -25-26 C. The average annual amount of precipitation makes about 400 m. The capital wins first place in the country on population, which increases mainly at the expense of immigrants. More than 3.2 million people live in the city now. A state language is Spanish. Besides him, the population of the city uses Catalan, Galician, Basque and also languages of migrants, Arab and so forth. The most part of the population, Catholics. Archaeological excavations on river banks Manzanares prove that appearance of the person in the neighborhood of Madrid belongs to era of the Lower Paleo. About 100,000 years ago. However, mentions of Madrid as about the city appear much later. It is considered that the city was founded by the Emir of Córdoba Muhammad I for protection of approaches to Toledo from residents of Lyons and Castilians. The city grew around the fortress of Madrid, the first mention of which belongs to 932. The fortress of Alcasp, separated from residential quarters, Medina was constructed. During Reconquista, in 1085 Madrid was subdued by the King Alfonso VI. Development of the city up to 1561, when the King Philip II made it the capital of the kingdom, in many respects depended on relationship of the Arabs and Spaniards who were at war, living in the world. The outline similar on modern, the city got during the most intensive development from the 1570th to the 1670th years. By the end of the 16th century in Madrid already there lived 80,000 people. At the King Philip IV the fourth city wall was constructed. At the beginning of the 18th century the Spanish crown passed to Bourbons. At Philip V construction of the new royal palace, Palacio Real, instead of the old Alcazar palace which burned down in 1734 began, known for the labyrinths. At the King Charles III Madrid I became the real European capital. Such architects as Sabatini, Marc, Ventura Rodriguez, Juan de Villanueva, etc. were carried out. Works on improvement were invited. Streets are paved and illuminated, water supply is modernized. The city gained neoclassical shape. However, growth of the city stopped. In 1808 the city was occupied by the French. Napoleon's invasion. On May 2, 1808, after overthrow by the French of the King Ferdinand VII and declaration as Joseph Bonaparte's king in the city, the revolt, which is cruelly suppressed by invaders, broke out. This episode, execution of Rizin, is reflected in one of the best-known cloths of Goya. Two years later the liberating war which passed into the Spanish Revolution of 1808-1814 broke out. Subsequently the King Ferdinand VII and the Queen Isabella II cared for development of Madrid much. At the Queen Isabella there was a rapid growth of the city. In this connection almost all city gate were demolished. Up to now only the Toledo Gate, Fragment, and Gate remained. I craved. Serious reorganization of the city happened at the end of the beginning of the 20th century. On the place of old new, wide streets and boulevards were laid, many buildings in modernist style and Art Nouveau are built. In 1936, during Civil War, defense of the city by Republicans against Nationalists, Falangist, under Francisco Franco's command began. In March 1939 the garrison capitulated. Many historical buildings were damaged, the economy experienced numerous difficulties. At the same time several large architectural projects, a triumphal arch, the headquarters of the Air Force around Moncloa and some other were begun. In the 1950th years began to be established relation with the USA. Economic recovery and development of tourism began. Fight of Falangist and National Militia near the Madrid barracks Montaña. July 30, 1936. After Franco's death in 1975 and the third restoration of Bourbons to a throne, there ascended the King Juan Carlos I. In Madrid, the movement known as Movida, rapid growth of subcultures and emergence of a number of new figures of cinema and theater begins. In the 1990s, two new art museums, the Museum of the Queen Sofia and Thyssen-Bornemisza's Museum, were open. On March 11, 2004 in Madrid there was a destructive act of terrorism. Simultaneous explosion on several stations. Events are considered on March 11 as the European analogue of act of terrorism in New York on September 11. In memory of the victims in the downtown, the memorial, the Wood of the Dead, was built. In the administrative plan, Madrid is divided into 21 areas, which in turn are divided into 131 subdistricts. In the list provided below, names of areas are highlighted in bold. Centro, subdistricts: Palacio, Embajadas, Cortes, Justicia, Universidad, Salt. Argensola, subdistricts: Paseo Imperial, Acacias, Copera, Legazpi, Delicias, Palos de Mogar, Atocha. Retiro, subdistricts: Pacifico, Adalfas, Estrella, Ibes, Jaranimos, Niño Jesus. Salamanca, subdistricts: Boya, Fuente d'Albero, Gindelera, List, Castellan. Camartin, subdistricts: El Viso, Prosperidad, Ciudad Jardín, Hispanoamérica, Nueva España, Castilla. Techun, subdistricts: Playas Vistas, Cuatro Caminos, Castilicos, Almenara, Valdecideras, Barragit. Chambéry, subdistricts: Gastambide, Arapiles, Trafalgar, Almagro, Vallehermoso, Rios Rosas. Fuencarral, El Pardo, subdistricts: El Pardo, Fuentelarena, Peña Grande, Barrio del Pilo, La Paz, Valverde, Mirasierra, El Goloso. Moncloa, Aravaca, subdistricts: Casa de Campo, Arguiles, Ciudad Universitaria, Valdesarce, Valdemarin, El Planchillo, Arawak. Latina, subdistricts: Los Carmines, Puerta del Angel, Lucero, Aluche, Las Aguilas, Campamento, Cuatro Vientos. Carabanchel, subdistricts: Palpaniel, San Isidro, Vista Alegre, Puerto Bonita, Buenavista, Abrantes. Usera, subdistricts: Ocasitas, Orcasar, San Fermin, Almendrales, Moscardo, Sofio, Perdolongo. Punta Vallecas, subdistricts: Entrevias, San Diego, Palomares Bocas, Palomares Charest, Portasco, Numancia. Moratolas, subdistricts: Pavones, Orcaco, Maracaina, Medialigua, Fontaron, Vinateros. Ciudad Lineal, subdistricts: Ventas, Pueblo Nuevo, Quintana, La Concepcion, San Pascual, San Juan Bautista, Colin, Italea, Costeliers. Hortales, subdistricts: Palomas, Valdefuentes, Canillas, Pino del Rey, Apostol Santiago, Piovera. Villaverde, subdistricts: San Andres, San Cristobal, Butarque, Los Rosales, Los Angeles. Villaverde. Villa de Vallecas, subdistricts: A Comprehensive Insurance, Historical, Vallecas, Santa Eugenia. Vicalvaro, subdistricts: A Comprehensive Insurance, Historical, Vicalvaro, Ambros. San Blas, subdistricts: Semencas, Elian, Aposta, Arcos, Rosas, Recos, Canalicas, El Salvador. Barrias subdistricts. Almeida de Osuna, Aeropuerto, the Comprehensive Insurance, Historical de Barrias, Timon, Coralecos. Economy. PDD of Madrid, the largest of all Spanish cities, in 2011 he made €124.9 billion. The annual budget of Madrid in 2014 made €45 billion. Despite a tendency to transfer of the industrial centers in the industrial parks located out of town, Madrid remains the industrial center of Spain, the second most important after Barcelona. During the last period, the value of Barrias Airport and its contribution to administrative and financial activity considerably grew. Significantly, construction of roads and expansion of railway transport grew in recent years. However, Madrid, as well as all Spain, lags behind other Europe in development of new technologies. In suburbs, several automobile plants. Besides, inflation in Spain above the average European level. Since 1998, housing prices grew by 150%. That was promoted by introduction of euro. There was a loss of competitiveness to the main trade partners. Madrid develops tourist activity, being the city of the country which is the most visited by foreign tourists. The announcement of Madrid in 1992, the city of the European culture, was an important step in development of this process. Education. Royal Academy of Fine Arts of San Fernando. Madrid Autonomous University. Madrid University of Charles III. Complutense University of Madrid. Navarre Public University. National University of Remote Education. University of a Name of the King Juan Carlos. Business School. Transport. The network of bus routes and since 1919. The subway, which quickly develops in recent years, works in the city. For example, the second ring line, which connected among themselves industrial suburbs to the south from the city, is laid. The subway of Madrid takes the second place in Europe on the extent of lines, 324 km. After London, 408 km. Now, in addition to the subway in Madrid, the network of the modern tram is open, known as the light subway. The light subway uses modern low-floor Citadas 302 trams. The network of city electric trains works. There are two main railway stations, Atocha, the southern direction, and Camartin, the northern direction. On the northeast of the city, the international airport Barrias. 4 terminals. The airport annually serves about 50 million passengers and enters the list of 20 largest airports in the world. High-speed avenue railway transport. Speed of 350 km/h. The new 4th terminal of Barrias Airport opened on February 5, 2006. Highways. A-1 Madrid, Aranda de Duero, Burgos, Miranda de Ebro, Vitoria, San Sebastian, Iron, France. A-2 Madrid, Zaragoza, Lerida, Barcelona, Girona, France. A-3 Madrid, Valencia. A-4 Madrid, Cordoba, Seville, Cadiz. A-5 Madrid, Merida, Badajoz, Lisbon. A-6 Madrid, Medina del Campo, Benavente, Ponferrada, Lugo, A Coruña. A-42 Madrid, Toledo. These free highways are parallel to toll highways of R-2, R-3, R-4 and R-5 which unload movement along free roads. Besides, in Madrid there are several ring routes. These roads allow to travel over the city in case of need. This city is one of the most beautiful capitals not only Europe, but also the whole world. Economic and cultural life of the city are concentrated on the area of Castle and Alcalá Street. Exactly, there are most expensive shops and luxury restaurants. One of the main cultural attractions of the city, the Museo del Prado, founded by Maria Isabella Braganza, the second wife of Ferdinand VII. In 1819 the museum was placed in the modern building as Royal Museum. The museum building, by request of the King Charles III in 1785, was designed by the architect Juan de Villanueva. Two other large museums of Madrid, the Museum of the Queen Sofia and Tessena Bornemissa's Museum, together with Museo del Prado, form a so-called cold triangle of arts. In the first, pictures of the modern art are collected. In particular, in the Museum of the Queen Sofia there is the well-known picture of Pablo Picasso Guernica and also Salvador Dali and Joan Miro's creations. In Tessena Bornemissa's museum there are pictures of different eras, since the Renaissance, and finishing with works of Impressionists, Surrealists and Cubists. Also the collection of Royal Academy of Fine Arts of San Fernando, which contains 1,300 pictures, including Velázquez's works, Rubens and Goya, is of interest. The National Archaeological Museum owns an extensive collection on archaeology and natural history. The Maritime Museum tells about weapon, the ships, conquest of Spain, since 15th century. The Museum of America, a collection of works of art of pre-Columbian America. The exposition of the Museum of Mint is devoted to the history of mint and numismatics in general. In 1908 the Municipal Symphonic Brass Band of Madrid is created. Before the beginning of the 18th century the horse bullfight in Madrid was held on Plaza Mayor in the presence of the king. After formation of traditions of a modern pedestrian bullfight in the 18th century, the main arena was in the region of Gate of Alcalá. In 1929 the grandiose arena for a bullfight Los Ventas at the end of Alcalá Street was built. Every Sunday from March to October there take place the bullfights, attracting fans of tauromaquia and tourists from all over the world. From May 1 to May 30 annually, in honor of city holidays of street Isida, the most important series of bullfights in the world, Feria de San Isidro, is held. Holidays. On May 15, Day of Saint Isidore. On June 13, Day of Street Antony Floritsky. On July 16, Day of the Saint Maiden Karmenskaya. On August 7, Day of Saint Cayetan. On August 10, Day of Saint Lavrenti. On August 15, Day of the Saint Maiden Polomskaya. On October 12, Day of the Saint Maiden Pilarskaya. On November 9, Day of the Saint Maiden Almudenskaya. Main attractions. Plaza Mayor Square. In translation from Spanish literally, Main Square. Is created in government of the King Philip III by the architect Juan Gómez de Mora. Construction works began in 1617 and 2 years proceeded. Buildings were built in style of the Madrid Baroque. On the square there are 136 buildings with 437 balconies from which in the past watched royal ceremonies, nightly tournaments, a bullfight and an auto da fe. In the center of the area there is a monument to the King Philip III, the third Spanish king of a dynasty Gabsburg. Still, the area is one of the most lively places in the city. Numerous cafes and restaurants are located here. The square are rectangular areas with colonnades, similar Plaza Mayor. It is possible to see in other cities of Spain and also in the former colonies of Spain in Latin America. Puerta del Sol Square, literally Gate of the Sun, serves as a 0 point for counting of road distances in Spain. Madrid is the geographical center of the country, and the area the central point of the city. The name of the area speaks simply. In the 15th century there passed the fortification here, and some of City Gate were in the place of the area. On the square there were such events as a revolt on May 2, 1808, also declaration of the Second Republic in 1931 minus the French invasion. On the square one of the first stations of the Madrid subway is located. The area challenges the right to be considered as the central square of the city with Plaza Mayor. The area got a modern elliptic form at the time of government of the Queen Isabella II. Since then the building of Mail, 1761, with the hours notifying approach of New Year remained. Now in the building the government of the autonomous region Madrid works. At the time of the Second Republic, and later, Franco's dictatorships, the building belonged to secret police. On the square the building of Royal Academy of Fine Arts is located. The monument the Baron a tree strawberry, who is a city symbol and a monument to the King Charles III, is placed into the square. In the center of Cibola Square, the fountain with the chariot of the goddess Cabela is constructed in 1781 on the project architects José Hermosilla and Ventura Rodriguez, which gave the name to the area is located. The image of the chariot of Cabela harnessed by lions and panthers was very popular. The area is created by 4 buildings. The Neoclassical Bank of Spain, 1884. The Buenavista Palace of Dukes Alba, the end of the 18th century. The mansion of Marqueses de Linares and the building of the head post department in neo-Baroque style, the beginning of the 20th century. The place on which the Palace Linares is built was considered as damned. Once there was an olive grove where bandits, and in 1808 hid, during the War of Independence, the French constructed their prison where they held prisoners, executed and buried prisoners. Several generations of family of Murga lived in the palace. On a legend José de Morga Ariolid, the Marquis Linares, without suspecting anything, I married the illegitimate sister. When spouses knew of incest, they killed the child and immured a body in a wall. The Marquis committed suicide and was buried in a garden, and ghosts of the father and the daughter allegedly live in the palace since then. Since 1992 Linares is in the Palace de Casa de America Cultural Center, the House of America. The boulevard Paseo del Prado arose thanks to the king builder Charles III, about whom said that he found the city from clay and turned him into the city from marble. The boulevard was built on similarity of the Roman Navan Square, having the elliptic form. 3 fountains were installed. At Canovas del Castellana Square, the Neptune's fountain with the chariot attracted by dolphins and horses. 1780. Is located in the middle of the Boulevard Apollos. 1777. Fountain is located, and the third fountain Sibyllus is located at the end of the boulevard at Sibyllus Square. After the fire of 1734, which completely destroyed the previous palace, which was standing still the Arab block, it was decided to build the new building similar to Versailles. Construction began under the leadership of the Italian architect Filippo Juvara, and after his death continued Giovanni Battista Sacchetti, and later, Sabatini and Ventura. Construction continued from 1738 to 1764. Charles III was the first king who lodged in the palace. Now the royal family doesn't live in the palace, which is used for hospitality events. So, in 1991 in the Palace de Madrid conference on the Middle East took place. The considerable part of the palace is allocated under the museum. It should be noted throne and festive halls, and also the richest collection of painting, including works of such masters as El Greco, Velázquez, Bosch, Goya. The area arose at the beginning of the 19th century from east side from the royal palace. Joseph Bonaparte began to build the area. 1808-1813. The ensemble of the area was complete during Isabella II's government. The Queen transferred a horse sculpture of the King Philip IV of work of the sculptor Pietro Tac to the center of the area. The sculpture was created in 1640 on the basis of a portrait of the King of Work Velázquez, and calculations for definition of the center of gravity of the horse leaning only on hind legs were made by Galileo Galilei. The square with the sculptures from limestone representing kings of the first Spanish states existing on the Iberian Peninsula at different times is broken into squares. In east part of the square the building of Opera Theatre is located. Teatro Real. Constructed in 1850, in the period of Isabella II's government, on Antonio López Aguado's project. During an era of government of Franco, the place of many thousands demonstrations. It is founded in 1611 by the Queen Margherita Avstriscaya, Philip III's wife. Architects of the monastery, Juan Gómez de la Mora and the Reverend Alberto de la Madre de Dios, imitating a facade of Church of San Jose in Avila. The building is built in style, in traditions of the Madrid Baroque of a brick and a stone. The monastic church was restored by Ventura Rodriguez. The main altar from marble is decorated with the picture Annunciation of Vicente Carduccio and Street Augustine and Street. Monica's figures of work of the pupil Gregorio Fernandez. Pictures of side altars, also Vicente Carduccio's brushes, and a fresco, creation Zachariah of González Velázquez, the artist of the 18th century. In the monastery portraits of royalties of a dynasty Gabsburg and also pictures of a brush of Cax, Carduccio, de Roman, Carreño, Ribera, Bartolome González and Gregorio Fernandez's sculpture are interesting. Horses with Buzón, Peronis's sculptures, Carmona vertical/Carmona, and first of all the reliquary. Storage of relics. With the ceiling painted in the 17th century with Vicente Carduccio are interesting, also with altars from Talavera's ceramics. Cathedral of Santa Maria la Almudena, the cathedral. It is located opposite to Orshinea Square of the Royal Palace and devoted to the Virgin Almudena.
On April 4, 1884, Alphonse XII put the first stone of future cathedral, which had to become a tomb of his first wife and cousin of Marie de las Mercedes Orleans and Bourbon, which died from tuberculosis later half a year after the wedding.
The original project in Neo-Gothic style was created by the Marquis Francisco de Cubas. In 1911, the tomb in Neo-Roman style, white dark, in which were going to bury Maria de las Mercedes, was open for a cult. In her chapels there are important burials of the 19th century, and in the left wing of a cross aisle, very interesting painting made on plaster in the 16th century. Here about a crepe of foxes. The project of the Marquis de Cubas was changed in 1944 by architects Carl Sidro and Fernando Chucagoitaya. Construction of cathedral was finished in 1993. His consecration by the Father John Paul II took place on June 15, 1993. In May 2004 in this temple there took place the wedding of the Crown Prince Philippe and the TV host Leticia Ortiz. The area of Spain is near the Royal Palace. The system of tunnels and road outcomes about the area of Spain provided the pedestrian zone at Vostokhnaya Square and reduced loading of highways. The central part of ensemble of the area is occupied by the monument to Cervantes, opened to the 300th anniversary from the date of the death of the writer in 1915 by sculptors Teodoro Anasagasti and Matteo Enrique. Two high-rise buildings are allocated for squares. The first block skyscraper, Madrid Tower. Torre de Madrid. Nicknamed Giraffe. Height -130 m, 30 floors. And the skyscraper Spain, which is nowadays turned into hotel. Height -117 m, 26 floors. Reminding the Moscow high-rise buildings. For example, Ukraine Hotel. Both buildings are built in 1940, the 1950th years on the project of architects of Otamendi. Grand Viaduct. The main road is considered the main street of modern Madrid. It was put in April 1910. The chapel is constructed in 1792-1798 on the project of the Italian neoclassic architect Fontana. Her facade consists of one case decorated with the pilasters established on a granite sokol. The dome and the arches with frescoes were painted by Francisco Goya, having used for brightness of paints a sponge. On a fresco of the arch of the main altar, Worship of the Holy Trinity, and on a dome, Saint Anthony's Miracle Paduan, written in 4 months, is presented. On her Saint Anthony who, being in Italy, recovered the killed is presented in order that appeared before the Lisbon court, and I protected the father from unfair charge of his murder. The characters represented by Goya, residents of Madrid of those times, men and women. Under the basis of a chapel there is a grave with remains of the ingenious Aragonese artist who died in Bordeaux in 1828. When his remains were brought to Madrid in 1919, found only a body, the head as it appeared, was stolen by someone. Nearby there is completely identical chapel with copies of frescoes of Goya intended for a religious cult and constructed after the announcement of original construction by a monument history. The arena for a bullfight in Neo-Mauritian style. Architect Ayuso. Containing up to 23,000 viewers, is located at the end of the street craved. It was constructed in 1929 of a brick, with semicircular arches and ceramic incrustation. It is known under the name Monumental or Ventus. It is the biggest arena for bullfights in Spain. Only after a performance on this arena of the torero reach full recognition of the skill, and the farms which are growing up fighting bulls become known after their pets act on it. Bullfights take place on this arena since March until the end of October on Sundays and holidays, and in May in connection with Holidays Street. Isida, the patron of the city, within 20 days, the best matadours participate in them. In Madrid there is one more arena, the smaller size, in the south of the city.
Before the Las Ventas Arena are established a monument to the dead during the bullfight to matadours and a monument to Dr. Alexander Fleming who discovered penicillin.
Thanks to this opening, many bullfights wounded in time survived. In the building there is a museum of a bullfight where portraits of the famous matadours Jarrett, Granero, Joselito, Belmonte, Manoleta, etc. Their weapon, tools and suits, posters and also the mummified heads of bulls are collected. Retiro, the largest, 40 hectares. And the most known park of the city, located between the street Craved, Mendes and Pelayo Avenue and Alphonse 12th Street. The park with the palace of the same name in the past was a part of the residence Gabsbergave. Earlier the monastery of monks of an award of street. Jerome was in the place of the park. Philip IV and his successors liked to retire and have a rest in this place. From there was also a name Buen Retiro. A good privacy. After construction of the royal palace at Charles III, the park ensemble fell into decay. In 1868 the park was transferred under municipal management, then became one of favorite vacation spots of citizens. In the park there is a memorial of the King Alphonse XII, 2 pavilions of work of the famous architect of the 19th century Velázquez, the Crystal Palace from glass and the Brick Palace of Velázquez. This modern financial area is located on Castellan Avenue. The handout by the Generalissimo Franco earlier. And law defense is similar to the Parisian district. The tower 157 high of Picasso in this area became one of symbols of modern Madrid. The skyscraper is at Picasso Square.
An architect of a skyscraper is to Yamasaki's Minor, the author of Buildings of the World Trade Center in New York.
The highest buildings of Madrid in the 21st century were built not in Azca, and in the new business area of Cuatro Torres.
4 towers constructed there in 2007-2008 hold the first 4 places in the list of the highest buildings of the country.
Sport. Real Madrid was recognized by FIFA the best football club of the 20th century. In 1922 Club de Rank Royal was given and it received the name. Stadium of Team, Santiago Bernabéu, located in a northern part of the city. Capacity of stadium, more than 80,000 viewers. Opening of stadium took place on December 14, 1947.
The stadium is called in honor of Santiago Bernabéu Yest, the president of club in 1943-1978.
One of the strongest football clubs in the history of Spain is Atlético Madrid. The club is based on the Wanda Metropolitano Stadium, accommodating about 67,000 viewers. In 1982 Madrid, along with other cities of Spain, hosted the FIFA World Cup. The final took place at Santiago Bernabéu Stadium, group games, at Vicente Calderón Stadium. In 2009, Madrid took the second place by results of vote for the right to host the Summer Olympic Games of 2016, having conceded to Rio de Janeiro. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.